Operation successful, patient safe. That's what Devendra Fadnavis said this week. Operation successful, patient safe. Interesting statement. Because 6 members of parliament have just walked out of Uddhav Thackeray's Shiv Sena and formally joined Eknath Shinde's camp. Shinde is calling it the second phase of his movement, the continuation of 2022, the continuation of Balasaheb's legacy, the continuation of what he calls the real Shiv Sena. Operation successful, patient safe. Maybe. But before we decide that, we need to answer a much bigger question. Which patient? Jai Bhavani, Jai Shivaji. For decades, that wasn't just a slogan. It was an identity. Maratha pride, Hindu pride, regional assertion, a movement, a brotherhood, a political tribe. Whether you loved Shiv Sena or hated Shiv Sena, you knew exactly what it stood for. And that's important, because political parties don't survive because of symbols. They survive because people believe something. Remember that. We're coming back to it. Everybody is talking about Operation Tiger, as if this story began last week. It didn't. 1991, Chhagan Bhujbal leaves. 2005, Narayan Rane leaves. 2006, Raj Thackeray leaves. 2022, Eknath Shinde leaves with 40 MLAs. 2026, 6 MPs leave. Notice something. This is not one rebellion. This is a pattern. A 30-year pattern. And when the same fracture appears every few years, eventually you stop blaming the earthquake. You start examining the building. The disease existed long before today's diagnosis. Let's talk about inheritance, because that's what this story is really about. Dynasties are normal. A doctor's son becoming a doctor is normal. A lawyer's daughter becoming a lawyer is normal. A politician's son becoming a politician is normal. The problem begins when inheritance becomes unquestionable, when nobody is allowed to ask whether the successor is actually the best person for the job. Balasaheb Thackeray had choices. There were leaders with mass appeal, leaders with cadre support, leaders with ground networks. Yet the throne ultimately stayed inside the family. The surname transferred. But Maharashtra kept asking a different question. Did the legitimacy transfer too? And then came 2019, the moment everything changed. Uddhav Thackeray did something that would have sounded impossible for most of Shiv Sena's history. He joined hands with Congress and NCP, the very forces Shiv Sena had spent decades fighting. Now understand this carefully. The issue wasn't arithmetic. The issue wasn't government formation. The issue wasn't who became chief minister. The issue was trust. For decades, Shiv Sainiks were told, this is who we are. This is what we stand for. This is who we oppose. And then one evening, the enemy became the ally. And I genuinely think this is the most important sentence in this entire story. The day ideology became negotiable, loyalty became negotiable too. Everything that follows comes from that moment. Everything. Now things get interesting. Because movements don't collapse overnight. They collapse through distance. Look at what's happening today. Uddhav Thackeray and Aditya Thackeray are suddenly planning outreach, suddenly meeting workers, suddenly meeting legislators, suddenly reconnecting with constituencies. Which is a little like remembering to water the plant after the leaves have already fallen off. Many of the rebel MPs now say they barely met the leadership. Accessibility became a complaint, communication became a complaint, distance became a complaint. Inside the party, another perception was growing, that power no longer flowed upward from Shiv Sainiks. It flowed downward from a very small circle. Matoshri, Aditya Thackeray, Rashmi Thackeray, Sanjay Raut. And every movement eventually confronts the same question. Who runs the party, the workers or the court around the throne? For decades, Shiv Sena's loudest voice was Balasaheb. Today, one of its loudest voices became Sanjay Raut. And while MPs were preparing merger letters, Raut was busy calling everyone which is a little like discovering the ship is sinking and immediately beginning an argument about who forgot the umbrella. Now hold on, remember this. For days, Shiv Sena UBT called these MPs traitors, issued notices, threatened action, demanded loyalty, demanded resignations, demanded they face the people. Fine. Then why didn't they suspend them? Seriously, why not? Remember that question. Let's answer it now. Because suspension creates a vacancy. A vacancy creates a by-election. And a by-election only makes sense when you're confident you'll win it. That's the irony. A party asking rebels to face the voters never actually forced them to face the voters. Because modern politics is often less about conviction and more about arithmetic. Which brings us to the 6 MPs. Om Raje Nimbalkar, Nagesh Ashtikar, others. Different reasons, different calculations, different journeys. One talks constituency work, another waits for a court verdict before making his move. Others talk access, leadership, political future. Different explanations, same destination. And when 6 people arrive at the same destination through 6 different roads, that's not coincidence, that's a pattern. Now zoom out. Why does BJP keep inheriting these rebellions? Shiv Sena, NCP, JDU, again and again. Because BJP doesn't depend on a family, it doesn't depend on a son, it doesn't depend on a surname. It behaves like a giant political organization capable of waiting 5 years, 10 years, 15 years until cracks appear, then absorbing what breaks. Not necessarily creating every crack, but becoming exceptionally good at inheriting them. And that's why today's press conference mattered. Because Eknath Shinde didn't welcome these MPs with a numbers argument. He welcomed them with a legitimacy argument. Balasaheb, ideology, legacy, real Shiv Sena. 3 years ago, the MLAs left, then the symbol left, then the name left. Today, the MPs left. Every stage was called a rebellion. At some point, a rebellion becomes a succession. Balasaheb built a movement. Uddhav inherited a surname. Eknath Shinde inherited the Shiv Senics. And in politics, movements rarely belong to families. They belong to the people willing to carry them forward. Today, Devendra Fadnavis says, Operation successful, patient safe. Perhaps. The operation was certainly successful. But I think Maharashtra is asking the wrong question. The question is not why 6 MPs left. The question is whether the thing they left had already stopped being the Shiv Sena they joined. Because if the ideology is gone, if the workers are drifting, if the leaders are leaving, if the inheritance is disputed, then maybe the operation didn't kill the patient. Maybe the patient had been dying for a very long time. You were watching Fault Lines. I'm Abhijit.